We are live. Welcome back to the Mecca of Banter, newest edition. This week, we've got the lads in the booth for some more conversations, maybe some arguments, maybe some rants around some world football today. I am your host this week, Andy Hoover at Young Yid. I'm happy to be here, happy to host. Always enjoy talking footy with you guys, but personally couldn't be more excited for the season to end. So with that, we will get into our intros. Dobes, I'm going to let you start. What's up, brother?
Oh, what's going on, fellas? Happy to be here. United Cruise at the weekend. We're at the business end of the season. So a lot to dive into this week. Some good results for some of our teams, some expected results for some of our teams, some shitty results for some of our teams. So yeah, a lot of rants coming from this one. Before we start, I love you all. None of it's personal. Yes. Some of your clubs are just shite. But here we are. Happy to be here, fellas. Good to see you.
Yeah, definitely need to preface this one with it is all love. We are friends outside of this podcast, believe it or not. But yeah, Winks, how are you doing today, man?
What's up, boys?
Winks.
Tough weekend.
Winks.
Weekend. But we're here. I'm not missing this week, like Nick or Butch in several weeks leading up to this point.
Leave my name out of your mouth. I did my. Yeah, Nick's kind of absolved, to be fair.
I know. Doesn't mean you still didn't miss. I'm not saying it in an attack on you. I'm just saying I wasn't gonna miss it.
Boys are hostile.
We're here.
Boys are hostile.
ready to chat footy. It's a good week though. I've heard something else good happened on Sunday that kind of it was Mother's Day. Yeah. So like, sorry. I know that we talked about it in the group text, but yeah, I was like watching the game on and off because my sweet mother just wanted to golf with her family on Mother's Day, and so all the four of us boys were just like, yeah, that'll work. We can do that. So
that's the best.
Yeah. So spent the morning on the golf course, and that kind of helped ease exactly what happened. And I know we'll dive into it, but yeah, fellas, happy to be here.
Love it. Nikki, how you feeling, brother? What's up?
You know, Hoove, club's at a pretty low spot, so kind of hit rock bottom. There's only one way up, right? It's kind of where my mindset's at. I've been falling on St. Louis City of recent to bring some joy, but obviously that hasn't happened this week either. So, I'm here. I will say I'm ready to banter because like I said, my club is shit. So there's not much I can lose right now.
You're in every position to banter right now. Absolutely. So I have no problem with that at all. Last but not least, Hen, how we doing, man?
What's up, dudes? It's me. It's Hen at Henry Wine on Twitter. It's a great week to be a Manchester United fan. As Dope said, we're in the business end of the season. We are in full control of our future, which feels really great with teams around us dropping points. It feels fantastic. Still, the only team in the chat that is in two competitions. We love that. And it's great to be here. I personally am so excited that Lucas Winkleman decided to show up to the podcast today. I'm excited to dive in as well. There was actually some really big stuff that happened this previous weekend in the Prem, and obviously on both ends of the table. I'm excited to get into it, and I'm also a little sad that we're down to like the final 2 weeks. I know that we need the season to end. We need some points to be secured, but I'm pretty bummed that in like 3 weeks' time we're not going to have any Prem to watch.
Yep. I think we're all with you on that for sure. Whether or not your team does well or not, it's definitely a spectacle. And that's literally why we're here at this podcast today. So we all love it so much. We'll dive in. And I'm so pumped that I'm hosting today because I get to take the first match of the week or the one that we just decided to put on the roster first. And that was Tottenham and Villa. And quite frankly, Tottenham got good eveninged. Just to the fullest degree.
And
they got
that
Unai Emery, bro. Yeah, that's where you're gonna see a tactical difference between Ryan Mason and other coaches who find themselves to be a little bit more established and experienced. But yeah, Villa ran a great high line that, for the first 45 minutes had Spurs quite unable to do anything. And then we also give up we actually have the most goals conceded within the first 13 minutes. They mentioned that on the broadcast in the 9th minute, and they were like, the only other team that has as many is Leicester. And then in 2 minutes later, they scored a goal. So they took the lead in that department. So that was super fun. It's just the same roller coaster. I think Pedro Porro is not the defensive right back that you may need in certain situations. And watching him play in front of Emerson Royale is like, that's kind of tough. That's just a not ideal situation. But when you're dropping Eric Dyer every week, which Ryan Mason is doing, which a lot of us agree with, that's pretty much what you have in terms of Spurs depth. Douglas Luiz played a great game. John McGinn, why would I ever shout out John McGinn on a Mecca of Banter podcast? Well, it's because he shut down the midfield and put in an absolute shift. He was immense, which sucks. We're getting put in a closet by John McGinn. But without all that, Spurs never replaced Eriksen. It was crying for a creative midfielder or someone who could break a line, and that's just been a glaring issue since then. Højbjerg and Oliver Skip are not going to get it done in terms of offensive productivity, which isn't what their game is, but those are your two center mids. So that's I don't even know where to dive into. I'm ready for the season to be over. I don't care what position we end in. I think the higher in the table, great, awesome, cool. But the VAR call was soft. Nikki, you and I were talking about it earlier. If you want to take on that a little, but.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. We've been kind of bantering about the Kane and Haaland talk, and I finally get to catch a little bit of a Tottenham game, and I see Harry Kane get a soft pen and miss 2 sitters. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not saying that has been his entire season because he's had a hell of a season, but I just thought it was interesting. I also did want to shout out, I think Henry's been on him for a while, but Ramsey had a hell of a game.
Bro, I love Jacob Ramsey. I think he's so fucking good.
It was one of those things where like I was watching him and I didn't know like who he was, and then I saw Ramsey and I was like, oh, is that the guy that Henry's been talking about?
That's the guy.
For me.
So Butch and I last season, United played Villa early, like one of the first games of the season, and it was Jacob Ramsey's like first game in the first team, and like that kid took over the game. Like he was the best player on the field by a mile. And so for the last 2 seasons, I've just been so high on him. And he's still young. Like he's a young kid. He's a great box to box midfielder. He's not at the quality of Jude Bellingham by any means, and he's like a year or 2 older than Jude, but he plays like Jude. He's a super box to box guy, incredible engine on him. He's doing a job as a left midfielder right now, but he's like an 8 by trade. He's a player to like definitely keep your eyes on for the future. Any one of our teams would be immediately upgraded by adding him. So I think that he's a huge talent, but man, Unai Emery, we've talked about him a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, but he's having this Villa team play to the best of their potential. I remember like early in the season, we were talking about this team and when Steven Gerrard was in charge, and we looked at their lineup and we're like, these guys should be better. Like, Tyrone Mings isn't the best center back in Europe, but like he's had several England call-ups. Like he's a decent center back, but he was playing so poorly. But Unai Emery's coming in and really, really shaping up this team. I think he deserves the most amount of credit. And he's a tactician. Like you mentioned it at the beginning, Hoof, but like the difference between Ryan Mason or like Unai Emery or just more experienced coaches, it's just more reps. And I think that you really see that in a club like this. Aston Villa also has a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes in recruiting like a director of football, I think from Barcelona. They have a lot of stuff coming in. They look like they're going to be spending about 200 million in the summer. Aston Villa could be here for a while, fellas. Like this could be, a really big push for the top 6 for the next couple of years, maybe even the top 4. So no surprise that you lost this game. But I think that when you got shot in the face, 8 minutes, 9 minutes into the game, you could never recover.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of been the story all season. And a lot of times they do. So it's like, I didn't turn off the game after the 9th minute because I was like, here we fucking go again. The pressure's off. You're losing. So, let's put in a shift. One quote I did see that I actually made me genuinely laugh out loud. I don't even remember what player said it, but he straight up said in his post-match presser, the team's goal this season has been to reach the Europa. And
Amazing.
I laughed. I was like, it's Mr. Europa himself. Like, of course, that's what he doesn't even want Champions League. That's too difficult. Not for Unai Emery. Europa League is his realm where he should stay. But there's a good chance they get it, frankly. So they've been on a tear. No way around it. And that's
you also brought up an interesting point of like Pedro Porro playing in front of Emerson Royale, and he's dropping Dyer, which is something that like you all have wanted so badly. And I think, you call out for things like that. And if you want Dyer to be dropped so bad, you have to kind of be okay with what comes after that. Like, you can't get everything that you want. So if the number one thing that you want is Eric Dyer not to be on the field, you have to be okay with that. Like, I mean, equally so, I think we see it at United all the time. Like, I'd rather have Maguire sit the bench and play Lindelof and Shaw. And if they make a defensive mistake, I'm like, still better than Maguire being out there.
Sure.
So it's not perfect, but maybe I'm not optimistic in the slightest bit that you'll do anything of substance in the off season with the center back, but like maybe you will, and might be cool.
That just solves so many problems. And, I think it's just so hard to speculate, dude, because who's going to be the manager?
Dude,
like,
Nagelsmann pulled out, didn't he? I don't know if he pulled out or if Tottenham ruled him out, but like he's out.
Depends on who you ask. You ask Daniel Levy, there was never even a conversation. But
Jesus.
when you talk to everybody else, the Spurs PR team was told that, God, what was it? It was something more or less that, they decided he was not going to be the manager going forward. And information came out from his camp that, no, they came to him with shit proposals on director of football and penny pinching transfers, and he said no. So it's just another day, man. That's just what the Spurs team has to do. It's what the PR team is told. They've got, and it's with every club. They've got media that there isn't exactly on there. Yes, thank you, Nick. Spurs are shit. Their media is not on their payroll. They might as well be. Some of them just don't. They just don't ask questions. They don't ask the right questions. They're not allowed to bring up sensitive topics that they know that the club doesn't want to talk about. And it's just kind of a circus, and it all again surrounds one guy. What are you gonna do? Daniel Levy's in charge. He's at the helm, and I'm completely prepped for another season of exactly what we had this year. Next year, so with the same squad.
Literally.
Dyer being dropped's cool, but you're right. Like, I can't. Pedro Porro, we didn't get Pedro Porro to play a defensive right back position. We got him to play a creative wing back position that tracks back here and there. So you're right. You take what you get. I don't think Dyer being out lost the game. I don't think Pedro Porro being on the right lost the game. If it would have been 100% his fault, then you call for it. But no, I credit Villa, frankly, that it was a really, really smart performance on their part, tactically set up well, obviously. And, you take what you can get. Harry Kane has 27 goals and, broke another record of some sort, something with penalties. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But he's going to get a statue and never win a trophy. And that's about it.
Is what it is.
Is what it is. Moving on to my other buddy who may not also be enjoying his season. Nikki, we had a Chelsea Forest 2-2 draw. 2 goals is a lot more than you have been scoring.
Absolutely.
Totally fair.
Absolutely.
You had some defensive leaks as well. Why don't you chip in on it?
Yeah. Sheesh. It's a low point, boys. But this was I looked it up. This was our 43rd different lineup of the year. Also, Mendy's first action after 2 months was him misreading a cross, coming out early and getting headed over for the goal.
Like poetry, man.
So when we started this game, by no means were my hopes high. So was I surprised? Not at all. Raheem Sterling gets on the score sheet in the second half off a deflection goal that would have went wide if it was not deflected. So then we are tied. I'm kind of like, another game where we score a shit goal and get some points. But out of nowhere, Raheem Sterling scores another goal. And hey, we're up 2-1. My day is looking a little bit better. I'm thinking we might walk away with 3 points. But in typical Chelsea fashion this year, we only held the league for 4 minutes and then allowed another header goal in to avoid 3 points. I think we're allergic to winning under Frank Lampard.
Frank Lampard's allergic to winning.
Yeah, Conor Gallagher. I don't rate him at all. Honestly, I think he's a worse version of Mason Mount. And he consistently is seeing the field. Lewis Hull playing at left back. I didn't mind, but like, where has that been? Like, what are we expecting from him there? So yeah, I mean, same old over here at Chelsea.
Chelsea really pissed me off this weekend. I had a nice 4-legged parlay that all 3 legs hit, and I had Forest winning, and somehow Sterling decides to score 2 goals, and that's what did it. So Chelsea's on my shit list. I hate to see it. I mean, I was like, I could have used that, man.
Oh, that just made my weekend. It ruined yours.
Love it. Well, thanks, man. Chelsea are really bad. I mean,
yeah, we are.
They're really bad. I know that they're like safe from relegation, which kind of makes like all the banter like irrelevant, like whatever. They're really bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm very excited for the next year, and hopefully Pochettino coming in will do something.
Let's get your thoughts on that, man. So Fabrizio leaked that, said that, Poch is coming in, which we've talked about for a couple of weeks now. Like, even on this podcast, we've said some things about it. What are your actual thoughts on it? What are you hopeful for?
I think I said it before. Honestly, I'm very just hopeful for some sort of long-term buy-in. I really didn't. I say I didn't care who it was, but obviously I do care who it was. But I thought the people that we were talking with, I was okay with, and as long as we were kind of going in on a long-term project, I was okay with that. I will say I'm kind of excited for Poach. But also a little hesitant. I will say I think he had a lot of success at Spurs. I think that was some of the best times.
For sure, fucking did.
Was their coach, and I think that he had Daniel Levy as an owner who was a stickler with his pocketbook when coming to signing people. So I'm hoping Todd Bowley kind of just gives him whatever he wants, and he can kind of do what he wants with the team and make it a long-term project. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. Am I excited? Yeah, I guess I'm more excited for the season to be over and for us to get a fresh start. So yeah, I would say I'm excited then.
What do you do with all of the players that are left over from Potter's long-term project?
Yeah. I think we're getting rid of a lot of people this summer, like a lot. Like, I wouldn't
Fire
be
sale, baby.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Kai, Mount, CP, Kovacic, all those people are gone this summer. So I could definitely see a huge overhaul of people this summer, obviously. And with us not finishing in any Europe, probably that's going to affect it as well. So we'll see how that goes.
It makes me sick personally, but I am actively rooting on his downfall. So I appreciated it, loved it. 2 of the best nights, 3 of the best nights ever as a Spurs fan.
And then smell ya.
And smell ya. See you, buddy. But I'm afraid you're right. I think there's a chance where he pulls something off, because I don't think he is a shit manager. He did completely lose it in 2019 when he did get fired. But I don't really know what that was about. Everyone loved him so much. Like, he loved everything so much at Spurs. But I do think there's a good manager there. I do think he'll have a bigger pocketbook. There's a world where it happens. I have a meme on my phone when Jose got hired and we started playing like shit again. And it was the one of Jerry from Rick and Morty. And he like leans over, he's looking at this picture and he's like crying. There's tears coming out of his eyes, and he rolls over, and I put Pochettino's face in the picture frame. But best of luck.
He won't. To me, the manager doesn't matter until Bowley stops playing like he's playing Ultimate Team.
You're 100%
Like
right.
I think when Boley brings somebody in that has alignment with what the manager wants and they form some sort of a transfer strategy, I think then Poach can be successful. But I think until Boley takes the like put somebody in that spot to deal with those and he can just provide the money and show up to Stamford Bridge and the fans
Yep.
can cheer him when they win. Like right now he's doing too much. I don't think the manager
Yep.
matters. I think Poach can be successful if Boley allows him to be successful.
I think you're spot on. I think when he came in, he couldn't have control over Tuchel. That's why he fired him. He got control over Potter, and you see what happened. So I completely agree with you.
So they pulled away with a point. More so
Hey.
than
Hey,
take what
that's
you
a
can get
point.
sometimes. That's a point against a team fighting relegation. They
Hey.
also secured a huge point in their campaign to stay up. But we'll glance. Actually, no. Next up, we'll take United with their 2-0 win against their bogey team, Wolves. Can't say I watched it, to be honest, lads. It was the same time as Spurs, so feel free to let it rip.
I'm so stoked we got the win. Talked about it last week. We've talked about it a bunch over the last couple of years, but Wolves really has been our bogey team. I mean, you can look back on the number of times that we've played them. Doesn't matter if it's home or away. I'm glad that we got the result that we did. I'm glad that we did it at home. Wolves are atrocious away, and so are we. So, like, I think that whoever was at home was going to win that game. But what's unfortunate is, like, we scored our first goal, which was great. We were dominating the game, dominating possession. It looked so good. But like I texted Dobes during the game, we just so lack someone who has like a killer instinct. And it could be a forward, it could be a midfielder, it could be anywhere on the field, but we just lack that so much. We have so many like creators, if you will, like when you watch Sancho play, when you watch Bruno play, when you watch Anthony play, sometimes Rashford when he plays, like Eriksen when he plays, like there's so many guys that want to be on the ball, but they don't want to be the guy who puts the ball in the net, who kills off the game. We're screaming out for that. And if that's Harry Kane, great. If that's Osimhen, great. Like we need it so badly. We've needed it for a long time. I was stoked that we got the second goal because I think not only is that on Garnacho's return, first time he's seen the field in 2 months, that's massive.
Great finish.
Great finish. But he's one of those guys. I mean, for me at least, I don't know if you all feel this way, but every time he touches the ball, I feel like something's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be a goal, an assist, the defender getting a yellow card. I just feel like he is exciting every single time. And it's interesting watching, him come in for Jadon Sancho, who, plays for 82 minutes, who is like a $90 million transfer. And every time he touches the ball, he slows the game down. It's not exciting. It's
Sterling.
Yeah, bro. So I just think that it's interesting. You watch this 18-year-old kid take the game by the scruff of the neck and take it to him. All that to be said, I'm stoked that we got the win. I said it at the beginning, but we're very much in control of our future. If we win 2 of the next 3, if we pick up points in those games, we secure top 4, which is great. We're still in the final against City. Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, it's the business end. Like Dobe said, I'm just stoked that we got the 3 points. It was huge for us.
There's not really much more to say than that. Yeah, we won. I'm happy. That's all that matters. On to the next one. I'm going to do a little exercise here with you guys.
Oh, God.
I want you guys to tell me who the odd one out is in this picture. It shouldn't be that difficult. For those that aren't looking, I'm sharing my screen right now. It's all of the match ratings from United this weekend. You guys tell me who the fucking odd one out is. Look at the United. Oh, wow. De Gea with a whopping 6.6. And let me tell you guys, De Gea with a shutout just won the Golden Glove. So we just have a goalie that just won the Golden Glove. He has the most shutouts this entire season. And yet I think he needs to fucking leave the club. So we're at just that spot right now where the game was solid. I can't say I honestly watched too much of it. Happy we got a result. De Gea can't play a long ball to save his fucking life. The little parts I did watch, I watched him clear 3 out of bounds. So I'm still had it with him a little bit, but kind of like Hen said, business end of the season, control our own destiny. Got a result. We move on.
Didn't he just sign an extension?
Who?
De Gea?
It's not official yet, but that's the rumors that he's going to sign an extension. How is he going to sign an extension? He's probably still going to be the most expensive goalie per week in the Premier League. So yeah, that's where we are with our goalie situation right now.
So I mean,
Lovely.
I know that several months ago we talked about this like Glazer sale, the sale of Manchester United, and us who follow the club religiously, we still don't know fuck all about the sale of the club. Like, the
I was
last
about
week
to
it came
ask
out.
that.
Yeah, dude. Last week it came out that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was the preferred bidder, with the Glazers still in power with 20% of the club. And then, like, literally the next day, it was like Qatar put in a $6 billion bid. Like, I mean, like, it's just fucking.
You think it's just a bidding war right now?
The
I don't even think it's
the Glazers
dude,
were at a Qatari hotel today, so there's that.
I don't even think it's a bidding war, bro. Like, I think
They don't fucking care, dude. They don't
they-
fucking care. That's the
Yeah.
thing. They don't fucking give a shit. That's the thing. They
Yeah,
want
and
money.
I know that Chelsea's situation was so different because of the sanctions, and it was literally like a freeze on the account. It had to go quickly.
Yeah, some
But,
bullshit.
like,
yeah.
But when it was announced that Chelsea was going to get sold, it happened. Like,
Yeah.
it moved through. They had all of the conversations that they needed to have. With United, it like got announced months ago, and there like literally hasn't been any progression with it. We're no closer to a sale than when we announced it months ago. And I say all of that because it relates to the De Gea situation. I think that Ten Hag is in a really dangerous position, because if the sale goes through today, for example, today it goes through, that new owner isn't really going to be able to like be fully in power until the end of the summer. There's just so much of the things that need to get handed over, even if it's Qatar and it's a full sale of the club. That's still time. Like, there's still time that needs to happen. So when other teams like Brighton, for example, have the deal inked with Milner, they're looking at De Hood from Dortmund. There's one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head, but like João Pedro from Watford. Like, they're already doing 3 deals. It's May. We don't even know who's going to be our owner, nor do we have any idea what our transfer budget is going to be. So I think that when we look at the De Gea situation and the extension, in my perfect world, I think we sign De Gea to a year-long extension, and then we move him this summer, which sounds weird, but like, I think we sign him to an extension, then we move him for like 20 million to a Spanish side. Let us recoup at least 20 million. Otherwise, he walks for free. Or if we don't sign him to an extension, he also walks for free, and we don't have a goalie for next year because we don't have the owners in place to put up a transfer strategy. So I think regardless of what happens from the ownership, we're really fucked when we go into the summer, quite honestly. Like, I think that we're in a bad position for recruiting players. I think we're in a bad position for all of it. And it makes me nervous, like, going into the summer. Ten Hag's going to really, really like have his hands behind his back with this summer transfer. And I think De Gea is only the tip of the iceberg. I think there's so much underneath the surface that needs to get addressed, but De Gea is only the tip of it.
Do you guys, could be a dumb question, Henderson, is he on loan for you guys, or did you guys sell him?
Yeah, so he's on loan at Nottingham Forest, but he's also injured right now. But he's made it pretty clear that he doesn't really respect Ten Hag at all. And like, the fan base, for what it's worth, the fan base wouldn't like welcome him back. He like,
Really?
yeah, Henderson's
comments.
Yeah,
I'd welcome him back with open arms, and I think a lot of the fan base would.
Would you?
What?
Dude, he's just a fuck. Like,
Yeah, he chatted some shit on his way out the
dude,
door.
major shit.
All goalies are fucks, dude.
That's true.
If we don't have to spend any money, he's gonna come in and be better than De Gea. Like,
I don't think he is though. Like, I think he.
It can't get any worse, dude. It can't get worse.
No,
I think he's better than De Gea.
Dude, I think it's one of those things where he has like,
Bro, we're talking about a
99
Europa League
belief.
semifinal right now. If it's not for fucking De Gea,
Dude,
got
I think
the
he's a
most clean
99.
sheets.
Yeah, I think he's a 99 belief player
Stop,
and a 25
bro.
ability player.
Don't get me started on the most clean sheet shit. Don't.
Oh,
get me
because
fucking
you're
started.
because your defense is just that locked down that he hasn't faced that many shots.
Bro, when Varane and Martinez and Casemiro all play together, our record is absolutely insane. Like, it's absolutely outrageous. The goals we've given up, we've got knocked out because of a fucking Harry Maguire error. fucking De Gea passing it directly. It doesn't matter. Like, we've seen De Gea make that pass 10 times out of 10. In that moment, he doesn't make it.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. We've seen coaches get fired. When Pep came into Man City, Joe Hart was their longtime goalie, and he said, "You can't play the way that I want to play. You're gone." Instantly. And that's what good managers have to do. And if we want to play the Ten Hag style of football, to keep the ball, play out of the back, build, we will never be able to do that with De Gea. Like, never. He will continue. He will continue to hinder our growth, our ability to play out of the back.
Then
Like, I love De Gea. He's a club legend. Like, we can always recognize that he's a club legend, but eventually you just have to move on. Like, you have to move on.
Then why does he do it, and why does Ten Hag come out after that game and say that we're going to re-sign him?
Because
I think he has to, bro.
Choice.
Yeah, he doesn't have a choice right now. And I think it would be different if we made the sale 2 months ago and he could already be like doing recruiting things. I just don't think he has a choice. I think quite honestly, like the conversation that we could have if United was under different ownership right now, we could be getting really cutthroat of like, do we want to advance or do we want to like talk about feelings and nostalgia? Like, if I'm being cutthroat, like Sancho's gone, De Gea's gone, Maguire's gone, obviously. Like, there's a lot of guys. Weghorst doesn't get extended, Savitzer doesn't get extended. Like, there's a lot of guys that are out, but like, to Dobes' point, when you don't have a choice but to like back the guys that you have, and you don't even know who or what your transfer budget is, like, you just don't have a choice. You're like I said, your hands are tied behind your back, and like, you have to play the game. I have no doubt in my mind, like, to your point, Dobes, I agree with you. I have no doubt in my mind that if Ten Hag actually had the pick of the litter and he could do whatever he wants, De Gea is not in his plans. No shot. Like, not
it's
even
the
a little bit.
managers. It's Ten Hag early in the season came out and said Harry Maguire is a big part of our plans this season. Like, Harry Maguire
He
is
did
now
say that.
our fourth string, like, center back. Like, it's managers coming out to back their players and have to back their players. Like, Hen hit the nail on the head. If we had Qatari in, we had the amount of money we could spend this summer, like, we could plan differently. But without knowing anything, like, I always say it, it's like, that's tomorrow Connor's problem. Like, I just want to qualify for fucking top 4, and we can worry about the summer when it comes.
Which is getting dicey now with Liverpool.
See, I genuinely think that Newcastle is in more of a spot to be nervous about bottling it than we are. Like, Newcastle plays Brighton this weekend. Like, very easily Newcastle can get caught. Like, we play Bournemouth and then we play Chelsea at home, and we end the season. Fulham at home. And we are behind Barcelona. We've conceded the least amount of goals at home and anybody in the entire world. It's like, I'm confident with 2 games at home that we should be able to get it done. And Newcastle has sort of been, we saw them 2-2 with Leeds this weekend. Like, they can get caught by a Brighton team that just did what they did to Arsenal. So I'd be more scared for Newcastle than genuinely I am for United at the moment.
So you went out your 4th, and that's kind of what you have to expect. And another team that also is probably 100% going to win out is Manchester City. And they punked Everton again this weekend. And I mean, I can't, like, that Ilkay Gündogan guy is just something different. And he was the first guy that I called out in the Champions League bout against Real Madrid. I just didn't think he had it. Look off of it. And then suddenly a title's on the line, and they put up the bat signal, and Ilkay Gündogan comes out. So,
dude, he did the same thing last year. Like, when they had
same thing.
Dude, when they had to win the league and they had to like win the game, like, he was the one that scored. He just is a big game player, bro.
What a goal.
Game player. What a goal.
Yeah.
What a freaking goal. I feel like it wasn't even talked about. Like, yeah, they were kind of hyping up, but oh my God, to settle it with your thigh and then back it with the outside of your foot. And he fully intended to do that. Like, you could see it in his, like, the way he was watching the ball. Like, that was his intent. And it blew my mind. I was like, oh my God. And I think I said in the Mecca too, once they score 1, I feel like that's anytime I watch a City game, they score 1 goal, it literally automatically opens the floodgates. And I'm expecting 2 or 3 after that immediately.
It's just insane, the fact that it's like, they got a big Champions League game on Wednesday this week. They have to win this game in the league. It's like, oh, no problem. Let's sit De Bruyne. No, Grealish been playing the whole season now. Let's sit him. Let's toss Foden out there. Let's toss
So annoying, bro.
Toss
So annoying.
World Cup winner Alvarez in there. Oh, by the way, we also have Mahrez who could play on the right. Like, and Gundo can pull the strings. It's just like, holy fuck, man.
Dude, I mentioned it the other day. Like, I just forget some of these cats are on this team. Like,
it's insane. Yeah.
Riyad Mahrez starts a game and you're like, wait, no, this guy's fucking sick.
Doesn't Calvin Phillips still play for
allegedly?
So
Allegedly.
there was something going around on Twitter that all the City
my
fans
God,
are trying to
I
vote
saw
vote
this.
Yes.
him. All the City fans are voting him as City's player of the season as a joke. And so if that actually happens, it's going to be so funny that he has to go up there and accept this trophy and Haaland has to watch him.
Awesome.
It's just
Dude,
Even
and go ahead.
I was just gonna say, even at center back, it's like you slide
Yeah.
Laporte in there, who's like on his day could be one of the best center backs in the Prem. It's
I'd gladly take him.
Oh yeah,
Any of those
100%.
guys. And dude, Ilkay Gundogan assisted the goal to Haaland on a chip. Am I saying? Are we laughing at? Are we laughing at my pronunciation? Gundogan? Has I been saying Gundogan?
Hoover, you say it how you want to say it, bro. I like how you say it better anyway.
Absolutely.
you're so American.
I don't know any ball. I correct other people when they don't say their names correctly, and I've just been fucking butchering it. But he assisted to Haaland, and then his free kick looked like a fucking pass.
It's like a little shit, bro. It's just like different gravy,
looked like,
man.
I looked at it and I watched it and I was like, all right, so where did the keeper go wrong? Where was the wall set up? And it all looked pretty good. And it just looked so easy, so effortless.
And that man's gonna walk for free to Barcelona in the summer.
I fucking hope not. That would make me sick.
He's just like, I'm a little bored. I'm a little bored of this Premier League bullshit. I'm going to Spain.
He's been there.
But I mean, obviously, like, we don't talk about City every week because I think, none of us support City and it's all that, but it's all in conjunction with the Arsenal battle for the last couple of weeks. And I think you see the class difference between a City and an Arsenal in this weekend. And City's different gravy, bro. They're different gravy. They're so good.
They're different gravy. They won. They knew how big of a win it was. And then the pressure was on the lads up North London. And, that match did not pan out the way that I don't know how I saw it going. I took the over, was pretty much my only bet of the game. And to my to a little giggle at the end, I did get a push, which was awfully nice. But Arsenal did not turn around and get the result at home that they needed, Winks. So what does that mean, man? What comes of this?
It means that City have to beat Chelsea this weekend to clinch the title. So it's not over till it's over. But yeah, tough loss.
Are you cheering for the Blues?
Absolutely.
I was so funny. Get him a jersey, Nick. Get him a jersey.
I know you want it.
No, not that much of a fan. But I was an Everton fan last weekend. We'll see. But goalless. Like I said, I didn't get to. I tried to watch like highlights and stuff and read some articles today while I was working. But just from the parts I watched, obviously a goalless first half, and not a lot of chances from either team in the first half. Saw the video after the fact of Caicedo's tackle on Martinelli that went without a card or anything like that, and so that's brutal to see. It seems like we're just building on season-ending injuries week after week. Saliba, Zinchenko, Martinelli, and Tomiyasu out the rest of the season. So there's three starters and key players, and one of our first defenders off the bench. So that's just brutal. But credit to Brighton, they were more physical, tactically better. Their press threw us way off. We couldn't possess the ball like we normally do. Like we're known to, and so fully deserved victory from them. They look fantastic and have looked fantastic in several spells throughout the season, as we've talked about. They're doing a really good job over there. So
you say that about like I know that you didn't watch. I'm happy to fill you in on my my breakdown of the game here, but you say that like it was unfortunate that that tackle went in on Martinelli, as if Arsenal wasn't doing the exact same shit to Brighton. Like even the commentators 40 minutes into the game, they were like, this is not at all what we expected from this game. Both teams love to have the ball so much. They play such possession style of football, and this is physical. It's dirty. Both teams flying into tackles. Like, I mean, Caicedo is that dog, bro. But like Arsenal was doing the same shit to Brighton, and they just got outclassed. They got outclassed. The lights were too bright for them. No pun intended. But like, I mean,
Dude.
Brighton was like the better team in every aspect of the game.
Yeah, no, I said that. So thanks for reiterating, and I appreciate the commentary. But yeah, I did watch enough of the highlights and stuff to kind of see that, and I think that we can all agree that, you know, City winning their game the day prior definitely had an effect on how the boys played. You know, and then Brighton was just tactically better. Like, there's no other way to put it.
Was the effect that they just chose to be worse?
Who of you were gonna say something?
You know, I'm not here gonna fully defend Lucas. I will say again, definitely my favorite Arsenal fan of anyone that I've ever met. Griff's not horrible either, but he's got his own little spin zone thing going on. But no, we've said this. We've said this all year. Arsenal do not have the squad that's fought for a championship of any sort. They're the second youngest team, whatever the fuck they want to say about that. But
I'd love to when you're done.
Yes, they didn't have it. They didn't have it. The pressure set in. I do think to a certain degree you're right that result prior doesn't help. It, you know, that in an inexperienced team of those guys, that extra pressure from knowing that you're the team that you need to beat won the day before, that's heavy. So I will defend that argument for sure here. I'm good with that. I can't express how much I love the Brighton wingbacks. I've never watched a pair of wingbacks on the same field on the same side that are so fun to watch. Those guys fly up and down. They're physical and they're so smart and technical. Like I even said it in the Mecca, and JP of all people was like, yeah, those guys are really fun to watch. Like the way that they controlled it. And there were so many players you could shout out on Brighton. And again, I loved Mitoma. So fun. I love De Zerbi.
His 1v1s like are so enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Kind of like what you were saying, Henry, about Garnacho, even though I don't agree with that one. But like when Mitoma's on the ball every time and he's in a 1v1 situation, I'm like, oh, something cool's probably going to happen here. So like he's fun to watch.
He did write a dissertation on dribbling.
Unreal.
Dobes, you got a new picture back there.
I didn't even notice. I don't have too much to say about this game.
I
really don't. Like, I've told you guys, we got our asses kicked by Brighton. Brighton's a very, very fucking good team. Did I expect 3-0? No, especially at home with like a title sort of on the line. But like, then again, that's Arsenal. I'm going to save a lot of my rant for the end of the season because it'll be a lot of fun comparing Arteta and Ole, but I want to make sure the season's over. I'm just curious, Winks, because obviously you guys need City to drop points, and let's just be honest, City's sort of a machine right now. So like, where do you rate this season in terms of like success for Arsenal? What I mean by that is, we heard a few months ago that it was a fantastic thing that you guys were out of all competition, so you could focus on winning the Premier League. And we did that, and you kind of bottled it. So, like, what is successful to this season? Like, obviously, you guys are the youngest team in the Premier League, but like, where do you rate this
second
season?
youngest, I think. Yeah, I'd give it like an 8.5 out of 10 if I could rate it. Anything lower than that would be disrespectful. But bottling will continue to be an exaggeration because, again, nobody ever gave us the chance to make top 4 at the beginning of the season. I'll continue to reiterate that.
But what does that matter?
Still, Bob.
Yeah,
it's
like the fucking weirdest
Thank you,
argument.
Henry.
It's
Yeah.
the weird. No, thank you. What?
Don't
say that I'm going
supposed to be there. You guys.
We weren't supposed to be there.
Overachieved
For sure.
To say the best. You guys were 12 points clear.
Yeah. To decide that like what happened this season was a failure is a failure in itself. To see like the project that Arteta's had, taken over 3 years ago, whatever, the steps taken to build that team, this good young team, and the beauty in that. You've all said at one point how fun this team was to watch this season. City flat out have a better squad, an all-time manager, way more resources backing them than we do. We're not the first team to have failed trying to match a Manchester City team in this generation, and definitely won't be the last. Speaking to this past weekend specifically, the same Everton team that beat Brighton 5-1 earlier this season lost 3-0 to Manchester City. Then later, that same Brighton team that lost 5-1 against Everton beat Arsenal 3-0. The only constant here is that City are just simply marching through everyone in sight. Now, we could lose the league for sure. We've talked about it on previous podcasts because we dropped like 9 or 10 points in 4 games in April. We kept scoring, which was good, but we couldn't keep the goals out. And we're flat out just not deep enough to allow for one of our key defenders getting injured and a lot of our best attackers having no rotational backups besides Trossard, who's been great and flexible. But like, we're not going to win a title relying on Nelson and Nketiah, like some of these really young guys that have had their moments. Obviously, Nelson's goal in extra time to win that one game, and Nketiah scored a lot of goals while Gabby Jesus was out. But like, besides that, we can't continue to rely on them. And that's kind of where I'm at. So
I think 2 things can be true. I think this season doesn't have to be a failure for Arsenal, but you also bottled the title. Like, I think those can both be 100% true. Like, this can be a success. This can be a successful season for Arsenal. Youngest team, you guys took a step forward. You guys did what Ole did in his first season. Yeah, we got that. But I also think from the position that you guys were in, from 12 points clear, it wasn't like you guys were playing Man City. Like, this title was lost, in my opinion, on like a Xhaka push.
Well,
like, it was lost on a Xhaka push. It was Liverpool 2-2, then was Southampton, then was West
I read
Ham.
that tweet earlier today, actually.
And it was like,
Quoting
like literally, it was the fact that you're not just like, it's not like you were with City neck and neck like Liverpool and them were. Like, one was first, the other was first. You guys were going back and forth. Like, the thing is, I just don't understand how it's even possible to say that it wasn't like you bottled it. Like, yes, this season could be a success, but from anybody in the world, it could be United. It could be City could be 12 points clear. Anybody could be 12 points clear. Like, you can look at my background of like 90, like what I don't even know what it says. 93% of the time you guys were leading the league. 93% of the time you guys were leading the league.
Wow.
I will say
93.
93% of the season.
And look at the last 2, and look at the other 2 highest. It's in your fucking DNA, man.
We all said that too, though. We all said, and Winks has reiterated it, and Winks didn't necessarily agree at the time, but they weren't deep enough, and we knew they weren't deep enough, and they didn't have guys that have been in title races, and this will definitely help them for the future and whatever the hell that Arteta wants to build. But I agree, 93% is a big percentage.
They needed depth, and they went out and got the secret agent that no one has talked about this entire time.
Jorginho.
You're right.
I also saw that tweet.
You
That's
guys,
the thing.
No. Let me hit you with the stat real quick.
Yep.
Oh,
Ever since
No.
Jorginho has joined Arsenal, every single game Arsenal has dropped points, Jorginho hasn't been involved in that game except for one, which was your 3-3 tie against Southampton. He is the reason you guys bottled. He brought in his identity of playing slow out of the back and not breaking lines. He brought that cancer into your side, and it ruined the way you guys played in the year. And I'm sorry no one's been talking about it.
That's a wild stat.
It is
That's
because
crazy.
because in
man of
2 of our
match, yeah.
recent games, he was the best player.
Yeah, that's cool. But he also bottled your other ones. Bottled the title for you.
There's
In
a
your
world where he
opinion,
can still. There's a world where he can
Just
still be
watch-
the best player
watch
on the
the game.
field, and the way that the game played out wasn't the
Absolutely.
way that the tactics were meant to be set up. But I'm definitely not defending
sure.
that statement, and I'm willing to let Nick, die on that hill. But there's a world. There's a world.
Hey,
I just wonder.
you guys were 12 points clear before he joined the team, and now you're behind. So
I just wonder if looking back at the end of the season, if we choose to go in a deep dive of each team, I wonder if there was any bit of like hubris or like false sense of confidence that Arsenal displayed even earlier in the season than we're really giving it credit for. I think going out and picking up Trossard, unreal signing. I think any one of our teams bringing that guy in would be like, hell yeah, that's a great addition to make. Sure. But if you knew that you weren't that deep, why didn't you do business in January? Like you brought in QER, you brought in Jorginho, you brought in Trossard. I don't know if you brought in anyone else, but why didn't you go out and sign someone that could push for a top 11 position? Perhaps that was just a false sense of confidence that we were rolling. We were 12 points clear. And I don't remember what statements were made back on the podcast, 5 months ago, but I wonder if there was a little bit of confidence in not just this chat, but also in the director of football chat, in whatever his fucking name is, Edu or whoever is the director of football over at Arsenal, if they were just a little overconfident, which could be, credit towards your argument of being the second youngest team, in the Prem. That could also be the second youngest backroom staff or anything.
Even matter though?
Dude, it doesn't. I'm just saying, like, if Lucas wants to use that argument, fucking I'll play into it. Sure.
United won the treble. United won the treble in '99 with teenagers.
Yeah, bro. Fuck yeah, we did. Come on now. Say it twice.
Like, I think here's the thing is with Arsenal, like so much, just because Winks is like the representative of Arsenal on this podcast, like Winks is a good Arsenal fan. 99.9% of their fan base had this title won. Like had this title locked and loaded. We got people
Trips
talking.
Booked.
We got fucking Elliot coming on our podcast talking about he's going to book end of the season. He's going to do a live stream with us from the open top bus parade.
Did say that.
That's what I mean. Like that's the whole thing. It's not even Winks. It gets portrayed like we're talking directly to Winks, but like the Arsenal fans it's been like I sent you guys that tweet of Piers Morgan saying he was going to do the C in the Stretford end after they clinched the league. Like, and you guys wonder why there's so much bent up like aggression towards Arsenal fans. The funny thing is, I would rather Arsenal win the league. I would 1000% rather Arsenal win the league. But if they're gonna fucking lose those games and bottle it, I'm gonna say they bottled it. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's like water is wet, facts are facts. Like,
I mean, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. I know that like Winks, you're downplaying it. And again, it's not an attack on you, Lucas, but I mean, it's incredible how quickly the script gets flipped. Like you all lose that game and JP's out there saying like, we had a great season.
Yeah,
it was overperformed. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. You've been fucking beating that drum that we're the best team in the world and everyone else can go fuck themselves.
For a
like
while they were. Like,
we were at one point.
Arsenal was the best team in the world.
Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with what he's doing by like stating facts in those moments and then, when we're on the verge of losing the league, still being okay with the fact that it was a great season. I feel like all of you guys would be doing the same thing.
So you just stated that JP said facts in the Mecca of banter.
Specifically to the fact that at one point we were the best team in the world, for sure.
But that's all the other stuff. You disagree with it.
I'd have to read the receipts. I'm not going to blindly agree to everything he's
But
ever said,
it's
just like I wouldn't
factual.
to any of you. But I don't see anything wrong with on the verge of
That one
potentially
claim.
losing the league that
Gotcha.
like going back and still saying that it was a great season because I just did that, 5-10 minutes ago.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead, Hoof.
I mean, I think we all would. I just think they're within the Arsenal fan base, and we all, as separate opposing teams fans, would have a little bit more of a self-awareness just to say, amazing season. We shouldn't have done this. We weren't picked to do this. We're proud of the accomplishment that's come, but we fucking bottled it. Like, I would be like, Spurs still get called out for bottling the 16-17 season that Leicester won.
Leicester, yeah.
And are we even on that list? We're not even on that list. We weren't even at the top. We didn't bottle anything. City just finished third. And Spurs are known as the bottle jobs of 2016-17 that let fairy tale Leicester win the league. So I think you're allowed to take all of these concepts and agree with them. But it was a bottle job.
The scary thing is that there's like rumors that Arsenal, that I saw some today on Twitter that said like Arteta has like $200 million to spend in the summer. which is kind of a fucking scary amount to hear, especially when we don't have
Dude,
any fucking owners.
like,
But
so many different teams I've seen articles about, like, so and so is getting this amount of money to spend in the summer. We're getting 200 mil. You guys might not make
Well,
any
you'll
signings,
you'll
but
get
at the end
that
of the day,
Champions
we
League
have
bump.
no idea.
Like you'll
Like,
get that Champions League bump though for sure. Like you guys will actually be able to spend some
Yeah.
money because you get that money from the Champions League. So at
I
least there's a-
hope so, and I hope that
Yeah.
us not spending 108 million on Mudryk in January helps, like, that allotment, because we've spent like 58 million instead of 108 plus maybe another player or two. I'm hoping that at the very least that extra potentially 50 million that we would have spent on him can go towards the summer window, regardless of if that's 200, 150, 100. Like, obviously anything helps, but not if Declan Rice is fucking $120 million.
Yeah,
bro.
That's the
Bro.
thing too.
I don't
dude.
think
200
he's worth
million.
that, dude.
No, Henry and I
Definitely
were
not worth
talking.
it.
I don't even know
English
if he's $100
tax.
million player.
Like you can
I-
get Casado for fucking 60.
Yeah.
And go
Preach.
get yourself a 9 for something like that. Get 2 or 3 more and a couple of young guys, and all of a sudden you have a better window than spending half your money on fucking Declan Rice, who is a world class player, but like I just
He's
think there's
not
better
that guy.
options.
Yeah.
Dude,
There's
it's
better options.
It's always going to be tough to justify over 100 million for a player, that a box to box midfielder. It's usually, the attackers that are.
If he wasn't English,
really?
he's like 80 million.
It's the English
Yeah,
tax.
if he
Yeah,
wasn't
brother.
if he was in England, he's like 80 million tops.
Krupp was in town this weekend. We watched a bit of the Arsenal Brighton game, and we talked for a minute. He swung by for mom, quick stop in.
that.
But we did talk about the just the general English tax, like
It's insane.
not to get even more wild, but Saka, great player, Sonny-esque, hard to hate, great player. I think you're absolutely allowed to say that. I don't think he's one. I don't think.
I
He's
thought you said Shaka, not.
That's what
Saka.
I thought you
no,
meant
no,
too.
no,
I
no,
was
no,
like,
no, no.
whoa.
Saka,
I was like,
Saka.
whoa.
You got 2 guys similar
No,
names.
I was actually talking about that with one of my other Spurs friends, the other day. Like he said something about like Tierney was the only player on Arsenal that he liked, and I was like, really? I feel like Saka is like that guy on our team that no matter what team you're on, you just like.
Yeah.
You like the kind of person he is, just
Yeah.
like the
I like
positivity and
Saka.
smile, and like same with Rashford on your team. Can't stand anybody else. Chelsea, I mean Pulisic.
Yeah, it chips into where it's at though, and I do think too, like maybe even Marcus Rashford to a certain degree. There's an English thing, and
Yeah,
just
bro.
no
Yeah.
matter what, being English is going to pull the microscope on you and just have this general media buzz around you all the time. When in reality, that could be playing against you, and B, it could just be overhyping you too. Like Saka's great. I think Marcus Rashford's great. I don't think we're talking about Ballon d'Or winners in the next 2 or 3 years. Maybe
Right.
these guys are talking Marcus, but
Not with Haaland and Mbappe.
it's just a slight on the English guys, and
Yeah.
200 million doesn't get you what it used to. If
at all.
Declan Rice is going to be 110 million, then
I
you
think
can't get
that's
the
why
same amount of guys.
You have to now, and that's that goes back to the Glazers thing. Like, in order to compete with City, you have to have super wealth. Like, you have to.
Mhm.
Yeah, yep.
Like,
I was
they're
about
not
to say,
they're
after
not
Chelsea's-
going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, their owners are staying. Like, they're going to keep spending money. They're going to get rid of their older guys and bring in fresh new guys. Like, in order to compete with a City now, that's just where football is. As much as
Yeah.
it sucks, unless you have super wealth with the price that players are going for nowadays, and like the owners being willing to stay firm on prices and not negotiate anymore. It's like we're at a different time now, and it's like we kind of have to accept if you don't have money, you're not going to be winning anything soon. So
I was going to say, I have a kind of piggybacking off of Dobes. I completely agree with you. And I think Chelsea is kind of to blame with the increase in price that we're going to see lately after
No
we just
kidding.
spent $600 million. But I think it's just going to continue to grow up. So like 120 million for Declan Rice, like, yeah, that's crazy to think about. But like in 3 years, I guarantee you there's going to be some people going for 220 to like, I think it's going to continue to increase with the amount of money that's being pumped into the Premier League right now.
Neymar broke the world, man. Neymar's transfer to PSG broke the transfers from here on out.
I mean, dude, there's a case for Gareth Bale to Madrid when he went. It was still the most expensive, and it was, has just since been blown out of the water. But
yeah, very true.
They're the like properly run club though. They go from like Cruz and Modric sign 1-year deals to end their career, and they got Camavinga, Chukwuemini, and fucking Jude Bellingham who are getting ready to fucking come take over.
So stupid, bro.
That's how a proper club moves, but there's only one of them in the world. So
Yeah. So, the Arsenal thing was tough for the Arsenal lads, but we can wait till the end of the year. There's more games, there's more things to play out. Chelsea's a wagon. You never know what could happen. So
absolute wagon.
The last game you can tip on, at least here, Liverpool 3, Leicester 0-0 today, Monday.
go off.
I'm gonna save it. I had a rant planned. I'll wait for Butchie, and I think it deserves his rebuttal for sure. I've got beef with Klopp and general Liverpool fans, and I think the bitching and moaning doesn't stop whether or not they're winning or losing. And it's always somebody else's fault when things are going wrong. But I did watch the game. I wanted to vomit when I watched Curtis Jones score a sweeping, pretty nice second goal on, again, yet another very questionable Livar
10 times out of 10
pool
offsides.
decision. So yeah, these guys get a lot of VAR calls. It's just not in me right now. We've had some rants today. We'll leave it, but they are fighting for top 4, and the more that
They're
they
making
win,
a
the
run,
closer they
kinda.
get. The other thing we did want to touch on is that 3rd and 4th race is spicy, and with Newcastle dropping points at Leeds this week, which in reality they could have dropped all of them. Is saying something about their end of the year run too. I do think they're in a similar position as Arsenal, to where they don't have that depth. They've still got guys from League One and the Championship in their squad that they just haven't had the time to kind of funnel out. But I do think Eddie Howe's done a great job with what he's had. If you guys want to hop in, I can't sit here and just give Newcastle credit, but they did not look great against Leeds.
No, they didn't. And to be honest with you, it's a little uncharacteristic, that performance. They have been pretty locked down, especially defensively. So to let up 2 goals against a way lesser team, they've put up way better performances against way better teams. So that was a little uncharacteristic, but it's just going to be interesting. They're tied with us on points. But they're 22 goals ahead of us on goal differential. So if it comes down to a head to head, that's gonna be pretty dangerous to look at. But they kind of control their own destiny as well. I hope that Liverpool doesn't squeak it, into the top 4. I just think that would just be an embarrassment for us. It would be a bottle for us. It would be a bottle for Newcastle. They've been firm in that position, but man, Leicester City's so bad. I don't know what the fuck is going on there. I watched a TikTok today that kind of went into the contract situation. There's a lot of people that say if Leicester go down to the Championship, they'll win out in the Championship, and then they'll just come right back up to the Premier League. But on top of the guys that we know would leave if they got relegated, James Maddison, maybe even Ndidi would leave. I see Vardy staying, but whatever. If guys leave, there's 80% of their club would be at the end of their contract next year. So they don't have the runway. So if Leicester go down, they could be down for a while, which is a weird thing to think about, especially thinking back to where they were in 2015, 2016, lifting the trophy. But the way that they've played consistently week over week, they've been bad. They deserve to go down. They're a bad team. They have some great players. They're a bad team, and today was no different. I just fucking hate Liverpool. I can't stand them. They're my least favorite team to watch in the entire world. I'm so annoyed by them. Literally everything that they do just makes me want to fucking throw up, and today was no different.
I only watched the first half of the game today, and yeah, Curtis Jones scored. Hurrah. They are just a team right now that they are rolling, but they have to win out. They play Villa at the weekend. As we've seen just how good Villa is, that's a good run, and they play Southampton at the end of the year. So it's very possible Liverpool have all the players to potentially win out and potentially do it. I'm more focused on this game was looking at Leicester, kind of like you said, Hen. There's sort of this they say it in not just soccer but all of sports. Sports hell is almost if your team is just consistently mid-table all the time, like there's nothing worse than that. You have nothing to look forward to. Your team is extremely average. And I think like Leicester going down isn't necessarily the worst thing for them. Because like, yes, they won the Premier League not too long ago, but like everybody sort of talks, and we've seen this over these past couple of weeks about these playoff games to get in the Premier League and all this different stuff to where I've seen Leicester fans, yes, of course they want to stay in the Premier League, but at the same time, like every single game they probably play next year will all of a sudden have meaning.
Yeah.
Like every single game they play, they'll be at the top of the table. They'll be playing for
Yeah.
stuff. They'll want to go watch a team that is higher up the table. So like, yes, it'll be interesting to sort of see what happens with Leicester, like whether they're gutted. I would take James Maddison for 30 million in a fucking heartbeat. But like, just the fact that like they don't deserve to stay up. Same with Southampton. Like there's a few of those other teams right above them that you can make arguments for, I think.
Chelsea.
But like Leicester have been so bad for so long that like they 100% deserve to go down. But it may be a good thing for them in the long run. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it kind of reminds me of when we talked Dobes to Ashley. He's from Norwich, and I was talking to him when they went down. He was like, dude, I'm thrilled. He's like, what do you mean? Every game now in the championship, we have a chance to win. I'm super excited to go to every game. And I'm like, oh, like I never even thought about it that way. So like, I definitely could see the fans like hopefully gathering some.
They're going to go
feel
no
like-
matter what. They're going to go no matter what. So if it means something, like it just means that much more.
Leicester are one of the only clubs in the Premier League too, which I find this super interesting, that love their owner. They love the guy.
do.
Yeah.
They love their owner. And he's the son of I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but the really tragic accident where the helicopter accident where their owner passed away in. But they're just so interconnected. It's one of those community clubs that people talk about. Like that's where football has meaning. So I think there is a case to say that. But also, if your owner's not getting the job done with players, there's a riff at some point. So it's such an interesting situation watching them potentially go down still, but have just this love for the club, love for the owner, love for everything that's about. The Premier League was a fluke. I mean, if you want to call it that, I don't think that's totally fair, but I think Man City finished third, and that is a fluke in itself. But yeah, it's interesting, and I would like to pour one out to my man Shauno for the relegation of Southampton. Not much you can do. He was another one of those guys, though, that did say, he's like, it just needs to happen. It just needs to happen. We've been in this limbo for so long. There needs to be a shock to the fans, to the ownership, to everyone top to bottom that, nobody's safe in the Premier League. So pouring out for my man. Love you, brother. That's a tough scene. But
the championship's electric too. Like
It's
I watched
awesome.
more this year than I've
Championship is
ever
electric.
watched. It's amazing.
It's so good.
So that is the weekly Premier League recap. We have done a deep dive on that, I think, to the fullest of extent. So we do want to chip in on, as always, St. Louis City. Another really, really disappointing result in Chicago this weekend. It did end 1-0. I saw that there was an offside goal that I thought was 2-0. I had turned the game off at that point. So, yeah, Hen, you watched it. I know a couple of us did. I caught about 60% of it on my phone. So, what went wrong? What are we missing?
Dude, so much. I think first thing to just call out, Tim Parker was not in the side due to yellow card accumulation. So he had a suspension. Say what you want about Tim Parker. We have the joke in our pro clubs, no nonsense, Tim Parker, just kick that ball high and wide whenever you're under pressure. But that man, he is a leader. He holds the back line together. And I think watching this week from the get-go, Bartlett and Hebert were really, really tested. And it didn't look good. I think not only are we coming off of the loss in the MLS, but we're also coming off of the loss in the US Open Cup, which is fine. Like it's not the end of the world. We played a lot of young guys, is what it is. Our goalkeeper made a fluke mistake. That guy's nails with his feet, and he made a mistake, whatever. It doesn't change my opinion of Lund. I think he's great. But I think in this game, We've talked a lot on this podcast actually about our wing backs being potentially our weakest spot on the field. And what we've learned over the last couple of weeks that maybe even weaker than our wing backs is our backup forwards. But our wing backs got incredibly exposed this game. Johnny Nelson, who's our left back, he got, 2 yellows in the game, which the first one, to be honest with you, I don't remember the first one at all. The second one that he got sent off for, he could have gotten a straight red.
Easily,
He probably should have gotten a straight red. It was an absolutely asinine tackle to make, 100 yards away from your own goal. And also, like, at that time of the game, he was just out of his depth. I mean, I couldn't even count the amount of times that he was out of position. He gave the ball away. We got hit on so many counterattacks where he was way too shifted over. And maybe that was part of the game plan and we're going in on him unnecessarily. But I mean, he was out of position so many times. And I mean, I was watching it with Paige and I was like telling her, I was like, I don't even know how this game's going to end, but we're going to get fucked there. That's where we're going to concede. Mm-hmm. And certainly that's what happened. I think, Miggy Perez got subbed off at half, which was the right call to make. He took a stupid yellow early.
Could have gotten sent off in the 35th minute too.
Probably should have gotten sent off too. Yeah. I think the ref looked at him pretty optimistically and pulled him aside and said, hey, you got to figure it the fuck out. But yeah, the lack of depth in the wing back situation is alarming. Nerwinski is kind of also like a no nonsense guy. He's not going to be like Trent going forward, but he's better than Trent defensively. Like, he's a good defender, but he's not great attacking. Nelson's just kind of average across the board. I don't know. Like, I to be honest, this is where my like ignorance and lack of knowledge about the MLS comes into play, but I don't know how transfers work. I don't know if there's a window. I don't know if there's a deadline, but we have to invest in the transfers. I think that we need to certainly add a backup 9. Without Klaus, we're fucking lost on the field. And we need to invest in wing backs as well. I don't think Nelson's up to it, but it was a lackluster game, and I want to remind you that since the Cincinnati game, the tornado game where we put in 5 goals, we've dropped points consistently every single week since then. The Union Omaha game and the Open Cup is kind of hearsay, but we've dropped points consistently since that game, and it's too early in the season to be like, oh, we ran out of steam. It's just not looking good, bruv.
Yeah, I think it's a good transition to what I was going to say with you saying losing steam. It feels like we're like out of the honeymoon stage to me. Like, I feel like our momentum in the beginning of the year, new team, everyone was behind us. We were playing high press, high energy. It was fun to watch. And now it's kind of like we've got some banged up people. We have to switch our lineup a little bit. And now we're getting down to like the nitty gritty games of like, we need to perform. I also think you brought up a good point, and something that's like really been bugging me about Carnell's decisions with these youngsters. Like, I understand it's cool to have young players on our team and to promote that we're playing 16 and 17-year-olds, but I don't know about you guys. I think it's blatantly obvious the level between those age gap between Miggy Perez and Glover, who came off the bench the other day. Like, I agree that like getting them minutes is awesome, but like Miggy has started how many games of recent and playing solid minutes? Like, he's 17 years old. Like, I can blatantly tell that he's 17 years old when he's on the field. Yes. Does he play well? Absolutely. Do I think he should continue to play? Absolutely. I just feel like we're putting so much faith in our youngsters so early that I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, I understand that maybe building confidence for them in the future, but like, we need results. And like, I think we're putting a lot of pressure on them.
There's a glaring hole, I think, without João Klaus. And I saw a tweet from, I think I'll shout out the St. Louis City Fan Van podcast that threw out something. And one of the things that Carnell talked about early was that we are a next man up mentality type team. There's nobody next man up for João Klaus. And that's they knew that. The Sam Adrian loan looks weirder and weirder every day to me, just because we don't have that big body to be up top to play the style that we want to play. And I think without João, it forces Lowen to be maybe overextended He's trying to.
He overplays a little bit.
He does overplay, and it's not. I don't think it's his fault. I think it's the fact that he feels responsibility to be the creative player and the sweeper and it's just not realistic. So when Zhao's in, he doesn't have to be that guy too. And I think Nico plays a good role in what we need. But I think Nico needs Zhao too. He's not going to be that hold up 9. He's never been. We've said he wasn't going to be that hold up 9. He's really more of like a center forward type player that links a lot, which is great. But we don't have that big body up top. It looks scary.
I think that's what makes what separates this not to just shit on the MLS, but the level of manager, from Carnell to what you see in the Premier League or anywhere else. Your 9's going to get hurt. And it's not like he's been consistently playing the same lineup over the last 3 games, obviously excluding the Open Cup games because there's going to be some changes there. But he's sort of switched the lineup. He's gone with Giacchini and Lowen sort of up top as a false 9. But there's been really no system. And I think that's the most frustrating part about it. It's you're going to lose your 9 at some point. Yes, you might not have a backup 9, but you at least have to still have some sort of identity or some way that you want to play with the players that you do have. Not only that, but you have to get them to execute. And I think that's what we've seen over the last 3 games. Yes, it's been non-discipline and getting a stupid red card, but even without that, we didn't have an identity for most of that game. We had a couple decent chances that we should have scored, but the whole time you watch, you really don't know how we want to play. At least with Klaus and Giacchini, you can see the style we want to play, and it just doesn't look like Carnell has adjusted to life without him. And luckily, hopefully we're close to him back. But he hasn't made those adjustments, and you can see that just in not only the team sheet, but then the results. So
we're super hopeful he's back. We take on Kansas City this weekend, Saturday, who are one of the bottom of the table. And you don't want to call a game a must win for an expansion side in the middle of May, but holy shit, this is a must win. I want to punk these guys. I've never felt so strongly about a team that I've genuinely not had an issue with for my entire life. And then
couldn't name a player on their team, and I want to beat the shit out of them.
Yeah,
my God.
I have a feeling Kansas City is going to be our rival. Everyone's been talking about Chicago for a long time.
It'll be Kansas City
for sure. Kansas City, they're in our same division. We'll be playing them a whole bunch and beating the shit out of them here and there. So.
Yeah, must-win game for St. Louis next. Crazy. It is going to be the cease and desist. Let me rephrase that. The cease and desist to go. I'm gonna coin that one. I'm gonna send that to SCL City and say, trademark this Mecca of banter. The cease and desist go. So must-win game.
Honestly, though, do it.
I think I will. That's actually a great call out. We'll switch over into our quick flowers and showers presented by me this week. I'll keep it light. I'll keep it short, but I've got a bone to pick with somebody, and I thought somebody else did great. Patrick Bamford. Patrick Bamford, week in and week out, tells me that he is not a Premier League starting 9. He had false. He had 6 fluke months where he was bagging goals, and none of them were flashy.
I had him on my fantasy team at that time too.
Yeah.
God, it was fun.
I remember another JP shout he said a long time ago. He's like, man, I really want to like Patrick Bamford, but he's just so weird and English. He's got this Harry Kane-esque swagger, but isn't Harry Kane. He missed a penalty, a very poorly taken penalty that would have put Leeds up against Newcastle 3-1 at that point in the game. And I just don't think he's a pressure player. I don't think he's up to it. I've seen a lot of stuff this week about, remember that these guys are players. They're human beings too. You don't drag them through the mud that much, I think sometimes you call them out, though, when they think they're better than they are. This guy's liking tweets on Twitter talking about how pundits have no idea what it's like to be a footballer in this era. Just put the penalty away. Put the penalty away.
Score the goal.
Everyone will stop talking about you if you put the penalty away. And it is a 1xG scenario where you get a shot at a free net with a keeper in, and they're not that easy. I'm not saying I'm great at pens. I'm not saying I was ever great at pens, and they're difficult. There's certain guys that take them on your team because they're better at them. Patrick, hit the showers, dude. Hit the showers.
Hit him, bro. Hit him.
I'm not gonna say it, but I'm gonna say it. You let your club down. You let your club down.
Hard.
I couldn't
Hard.
even tell you
And
how many times this season we said the same thing about Patrick Bamford.
Patrick
It's
Bamford
nuts.
is not it. He's
It's
not
nuts.
it. You can't actually have let your club down more. You're in a relegation fight, and you had a pen to go 2 up on the third place team to actually maybe save your season. That's all I'll have. Patrick, I'm sure you're a great guy. You won't listen to this. Hit the
Patrick.
The team that I will give my flowers to, who we've talked about all season, and frankly, this is a little bit more of a personal shout out than it is it is some flowers. Brighton looked great. Brighton looked amazing. I love Brighton. I love De Zerbi. I want De Zerbi. I think their manager's on to something. I think they've got something going great over at Brighton. I do think they shut down Arsenal's season in terms of winning the league. And as a Spurs fan, I'm going to drink that one. I wore my black kit today for the Viking funeral that was the Arsenal Football Club. Title chances going down in flames. So I let Dobes say his piece earlier. As the host, obviously need to be a little bit more respectful, make sure that everyone is
classy
in
of
on
you.
the
How
banter.
Classy.
You don't.
But Brighton's great. I love Moises Caicedo. I love Estupinian. I love De Zerbi. There's that 20-year-old South American kid that I still don't know his name that dribbles inside out of cardboard boxes.
Enciso?
Enciso. Love that kid. Love that kid. We're talking about a future there. But flowers to Brighton. They're awesome. They look great. They've had a great year. I hope they get European football at the expense of Spurs. So moving on.
Real quick, give me your guys' opinion on the De Zerbi knee slide.
Oh, I love it, bro. I was watching it, and normally
thoughts.
that's
As a genuine
normally
question,
that's so cringy. So
everybody,
cringy.
because it's getting like mixed reviews on Twitter. Because some people are like, "Fuck that guy!" Like, imagine Pep doing a knee slide. But
He's not
absolutely
Pep,
loved
and it's
it.
not City. It's
I
Brighton,
loved it.
and he's De Zerbi, and it's great. It's awesome.
And he doesn't even speak English. That's
Yeah, not a
awesome,
lick.
bro.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That is sick. This guy's the man. He's got this team absolutely motoring, and he doesn't even speak the language in the club of the country that he's living in. That's fucking sick.
I also think that there's like levels to it because like I remember how many times that we've been on here being like Arteta's so fucking annoying, like yelling at the refs and his antics on the side. Like Arteta would knee slide. So it's the fact that it's De Zerbi up 3-0 and just fucking knee sliding. Like great.
Dude, he had a bucket list item and it was to knee slide at the Emirates, and he had never done it before as a player, so this was his opportunity.
That's awesome.
So good stuff there. We'll quickly run through the Champions League that happened last week and take a look going forward. But we had a hell of a bout from the Real Madrid Madristas down in Madrid against City. It was super even. I thought it was neck and neck. There were moments that Madrid just looked insane. There were moments that City looked insane. And I thought it was a pretty deserved 1-1 finish. But you guys.
All I have to say, Courtois fucked up for stealing KDB's girl because man, does he bag some goals against him.
Ball was out of
Holy
bounds.
shit.
Ball was out of bounds.
Holy shit, does he bag some goals against the girlfriend stealer? Damn.
This game was one of those
The
classic
girlfriend
games,
stealer.
Like it's like the classic game of City has all the possession, but to me, it always felt throughout the entire game that Real Madrid was the more dangerous side of the two.
Vinny, what a finish.
Definitely should have scored a few. Oh, unfucking believable. I think
Dude.
we have to start talking about him up there with like the best wingers in the entire
I
world.
hate to say it. I hate to even say it, but what a
Bro, and I also, whoever does the fucking dribble pass stats, like fucking quit your job. Because they said he didn't have any dribble pass Kyle Walker, and I watched it 4 or 5 times of him just turn the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of those games where to me it felt like Real Madrid had more chances, but then again, like I don't care if the ball went out of bounds or not. Like you can't let City have that chance and let Kevin De Bruyne have that moment, because on his day he's world class and the best midfielder in the world, and he's going to take that moment, and he did. And now it went from Real Madrid having all the momentum going 1-up at the Etihad to like all the momentum is at City. They're going home, they're in the better form. But then you also have to look like, when Eden Hazard starts for Real Madrid, that they are going all in on the Champions League. So they rested all the dogs this weekend. So every single player
man's
that they
about to
will be-
retire.
yeah, we'll be fresh. So yeah, I don't even know how to predict the next one either.
It'll be electric. I can tell you that, and I'm pumped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the most electric 1-1 game out there. Like I think we all expected like goals, like plenty of goals, and there wasn't. But I mean, this game was so back and forth. It was so fun to watch.
I bet on the goals. I bet on a lot of goals.
Yeah,
actually,
and we
so.
just, it just didn't happen. But I mean, both teams just fully on display. I think that's what you want at this stage of the Champions League. As a fan of the game, that's what you want to see. You don't want to see just like a 7-0 rout. Like that's not what you want to see in the semifinals. But I don't know. I think I edge City again just because it's at the Etihad. I think that's my rationale of them going through. I think it's a toss up, just like the last game was of who's going to have the bigger moment. But at home, I think it's City. I think Haaland actually does something this game because he didn't do a damn thing that last game. But yeah, I think
In
it's
Rudiger's pocket.
Yeah, dude, for real.
That Rudiger cat is something else, dude.
Bro, I miss him.
I'm glad I never played up top by any means, but I just have to assume worst guy or type of guy that you ever want to match up with.
Worst case scenario.
For
Oh,
sure, one of those guys that you love on your team and absolutely hate going up against.
I know we all saw the video going around of him like down underneath Haaland's thing.
Yeah.
But somebody was tweeting about it saying like he's doing that because he's like the one moment that like he annoys Haaland and Haaland hits him with an elbow. Rudiger is also that guy that's just going to fall to the ground.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
Act like he got shot. So like sometimes as a center back, like that's what you have to do. And it worked the first leg. Doing that against Erling Haaland for 2 legs is a lot easier said than done.
He was in a rugby scrum, bro.
100%, dude.
Like he was like in a 3-point stance. That I thought that was wild for
that's
sure.
Not like how much more like respectful can you be that a striker is that fucking
Seriously.
good than you're bear hugging him for 90 minutes?
Yeah. The other match took place. I mean, dude, just electric scenes. The Milan derby. They have a name for it. In the San Siro, it was AC Milan's home match this week. So last week, sorry, but ended 2-0 Inter. And for the first 60 minutes, I thought it was going to be a drubbing. I kind of thought Inter were just going to take it away. AC Milan held their own. One of the commentators said they can definitely lose this tie right now, but they're not out of it. Definitely kept themselves in and had some glimmers of hope at the end. And I have heard that Rafael Leao will be playing tomorrow. So,
Exciting.
What are the thoughts?
I don't know if you guys saw it, but one thing I saw that I thought was super cool was the AC Milan fans talking
The
to
ultras
the team after the game. I thought that was like super, super cool. I haven't seen a scene like that. And it genuinely looked like the AC Milan players were like taking in what they were saying. So like, I thought that was super cool. And I'm hoping for some energy from them and some motivation after that. So hopefully we'll see a different tie this game.
It's got to, and I don't know if as far as the background goes, if it was something that the players did willingly or their coach was like, hey, go listen to these guys. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, you should look up the video, but it's just like 20 of them like arms around each other and they walk up to the front of the stands and there's just like 3 or 4 ultras specifically just like talking to them. And then after it was over, like they clap and all the fans behind them are just like going bonkers and start chanting again. And yeah,
Super
very,
cool.
very, very cool. Very
shit
cool.
That would quite literally never happen in England, not ever in their dreams. But
they'd be throwing shit at them.
I mean, as you should, if you're a team that like you lose to Inter, then like you lose to Spezia, like you probably should go talk to the fans after you lose to Spezia. Like, it's tough for me to see AC Milan coming back in this one, just because I think that like Inter could have scored 3 or 4 more. Like genuinely could have scored 3 or 4 more. So like even if AC Milan does come back and get 2, it's hard for me to see this Inter team not scoring a few more. Like I think that first leg, if it would have ended 1-1, like AC Milan's in it, but like that 2-0, that second goal was absolutely massive. And like I don't like, do you guys know like how they do the stands? Because it was an AC Milan home game, did they like give out like half the tickets or something? So like, yeah, this was an Inter home game. It's an
It
Inter home game too,
was-
so they'll have
It's
the
like
fans.
70% allotment. So this one was AC Milan, and then they gave like one stand to Inter.
No, I think Inter goes through here. I do think AC Milan has some fight. I would love to see AC Milan and Giroud go through to the final. I think that would be fucking awesome. But it's hard for me to see Inter crashing out here.
I was gonna say I'm really intrigued to hear everyone's final after the week's games. I can go first if we want. I think it'll be City.
For what it's worth,
the final.
For 16 minutes, I thought that Inter was like the best team in the tournament. The first 16 minutes when they scored 2 and almost had 3 more, I was like, yeah, they're for sure going to win the whole thing. But I agree. I think it's going to be City and Inter. And that's not a slight to Real, nor is it a slight to AC Milan. But I just think that they're in pole position to go through.
Yeah, the Champions League always has and always will go through Madrid. I'm going Real Madrid and Inter Milan.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's City, but City and Inter. I would like to shout out the Bosnian Dream, Big Eddie and Dzeko.
Oh my! I was so confused when I saw
finish.
him. I was like, that man still plays
I
On a free.
absolutely
On a free.
drank
on
that.
a free.
I absolutely love that. He started over Lukaku and was
Fuck Lukaku.
fucking awesome. I will say Lukaku looked pretty good too when he came in, but
Sure did.
I love Eddie and Dzeko. I love Eddie and Dzeko. I can't believe he's as old as he is and doing what he's doing. He still has so many goals in the Champions League, and I want him at fucking City.
I was about to say,
So,
come to STL City, baby.
I want him in St. Louis. I want him in that City red pink, and I think there's a world where he bags.
City red pink.
We should get Dzeko on the pod.
That'd be great.
Next up. All right. Well, and if anyone else has anything, now's the time. But if not, we are done here. It has been
It's like ending the
another-
podcast like a work meeting.
You know,
Anyone
I'll give
else?
you guys
No,
some
we're good.
questions
Give you time back in your
and
day. Yeah.
I'd give you guys some time back.
Plenty of
Yeah,
action items for next week.
Time back in your day, Hoover. That's a classic.
We'll give you some time back, although I know for a fact we just have took an hour and a half. So we appreciate you for listening. As always, follow us on the socials at Mecca of Banter, on the TikTok, on the Instagram, on the Twitter. We are working to get some more content on out here. We've got some exciting developments in our future here for the Mecca of Banter podcast. If you've gotten this far, look forward to it. Hopefully some interviews for some cats and guys that may have some name value. So as always, thanks for listening. Appreciate it, boys.
Cheers.
Cheers, lads.